This is my story on the lady leg pocket knife. I was going through some YouTube videos the other day and I ran across one on the lady's leg pocket knife. And the gentleman had some really pretty knives, and they were all pretty much like this one. They were made in China, which is a reconstruction of what I think is the real lady leg knife. Now, I've tried to collect many knives in my life. I'll soon be 80 years old, and I started out just like everybody else collecting case knives. Well, I found out pretty quick that there were a lot of different shapes on case knives. Peanut shaped, Coca-Cola bottle shapes, canoe shapes, all this kind of stuff. Different kind of tangs that had different logos on them. Each one was worth something else. I couldn't do it. So I decided that I would concentrate on just lady leg pocket knives. And this is my story, and I'm going to tell you how I think all of this came about. Now, I haven't written any books. I've read a few books. But I believe that this knife all started years ago. And here's the reason why that the thing was invented. This crimp cap, back in 1892, was invented by a guy named Painter. Painter invented this crimp cap because it crimped on easily. There was a seal underneath this made out of cork, and it kept the bottle from leaking, kept the compression in there, the carbonated water in there, and it was a good deal. And Mr. Painter was a pretty smart guy. As soon as he invented this, he went around and invented the opener to go with it. Now, this knife has got the boot on it, but it will not open this bottle. It just won't do it. It'll tear up that crimp, it'll do everything else, but it won't open that bottle because it's not made just quite right like the original lady leg knives were. So that's how it all got started, I think. He invented this about the 1890s. They invented this, they started having these bottles about the same time. Worked out very well. This company is now Crown Cork and Seal. And I think they're still in business today, and they're a big company. Mr. Painter went on to invent a few other things. One of them was one that wasn't very successful. He invented an ejection seat from railroad cars, and it didn't take off as well as the crimp could. So anyway, that's how I think this got started. But like I say, this is not what I think is an original knife. It's not what I can call a real lady's leg pocket knife. So let me show you what I think is the real knife. I've got a few examples here. This is one that I picked up years ago, flea market. This knife is probably, I don't know, 75, 80 years old. And if you can read it, it basically says on here, Mr. M. Frobisher, Washington, D.C. Now, why he had a knife like this made, I have no idea. But it's a nice knife, it's an original knife, and it's a real lady's leg knife. This one is from the Utica Knife Company in Utica, New York. A lot of my knives are from Utica. Camellus was another brand name that started out very well, but this one is from Utica, New York, and it's a true knife. The only problem with it is that I've lost the base on the other side. I could probably put one back on there, but I kind of use it the way it is. It's a good knife, it's got a good snap to it, everything's fine. I like it. Let me show you a couple others. I've got a few here that you might be interested in. And I've been to a lot of flea markets. I've been to a lot of gun shows and knife shows. And it's taken a while to get some of this stuff together. Back in the beginning, I believe that this was the beginning of the original lady's leg kind of bottle opener knife. These were given away as premium items. This one says Gayola. Must have been some kind of either beverage or beer or whatever it was. But you put this on your keychain, and you'd always have a bottle opener on the tan. Now this one has a little something extra to it. It has a little square hole right here, and I couldn't figure out what that was for the longest time until somebody told me. That was to adjust the amount of gas that went through the gas lighting system on a Model T Ford. Evidently it was a carbide system, and you could regulate the amount of gas, the brightness of the headlights by using that as a as a tool. Pretty nice. Sometimes I haven't seen many of these lately. I haven't seen many leg knives lately, to tell you the truth. eBay is a good place to look and everything else, but there are very few original knives on eBay. It's got a price tag on it. Well, I see, here it is. I paid $20 for it. That's got to be 30 years ago. I have no idea what makes this one so special. I wouldn't think it would be worth that much. Anyway, those are a few of those that work that way. Find one every now and then that somebody starts to make one by hand. Here's a blank. He never got very far with it. I don't know what happened to it. I just bought it because I thought it was unique. Remington made a lot of these knives over in Japan. These are the Circle Remingtons. I don't know if you can see that on that blade or not. Circle Remington. And these are kind of fun knives. They're easy to collect. There are plenty of them out there. I don't know what they're worth, but they're pretty good carry knives and that kind of deal. That's an original knife. That will open up a bottle. So there's no doubt about that. They come in all the different colors. They got the checkerboard blue, orange, and red. These knives, patriotic knives. These come from, this is another Remington. I think these are made in Japan, to tell you the truth. But anyway, it's a pretty patriotic knife. Nice knife. Probably 40 years old, something like that. Candy stripe knives. I got them in different color. Otherwise you won't. Anyway, this is some of the knives that I've got. Now let me tell you about these knives right here. Case Knife Company years ago kind of got in trouble financially. They were taken over by a guy named Parker out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mr. Parker started making knives, and I believe he made them in Japan. This is an example. This says Chattanooga, Tennessee, 1899, and I think this was in commemoration of the first Coca-Cola bottling plant. It is. First Coca-Cola bottling plant, which was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. These are called the Pearl Dancer because it's got the pearl handles on it. This is not real mother of pearl. I'm not sure what it is. But it's a decent knife. He made a bunch of promotion knives like this. But it's not the Case Knife Company. He owned the Case Knife name, but it's not a Case Knife that we know today. Case Knife today is owned by Zippo, by the way, if you didn't know. Anyway, he made a series of these knives. He kept it for a little while and then finally sold it out to Zippo. These are an older knife here. This is a good knife. It's a brand name that I've never heard of before, but it's a nice knife. And it goes with the collection. Sometimes you run across a knife that's almost always an advertising knife. And that's Brown Shoe Company. Brown Shoe Company out of St. Louis. This isn't one of them, but this is a nice knife. Brown Shoe Company out of St. Louis made a lot of knives and gave it away under the Buster Brown label. You've heard of Buster Brown shoes? Well, that was Buster Brown Shoe Company out of St. Louis. They gave away a lot of knives. I'm not sure if the boot really fell in with their shoe theme, so that was a big seller for them and everything else. Most of the other knives that you see are advertising knives from some kind of soft drink company or beer company or whatever. Or it could have been just given away by a guy as a difference. Here's one of the Brown Shoe Company knives, which is in pretty rough shape. But it's the same thing, and right down there it says Brown Shoe Company, St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know whether you can read that tag on there or not. This side is almost all gone. But it had a picture of Buster Brown and his dog Tag on this side. And they sold a lot of these knives, or gave a lot of them away, actually. Alright, so much for that. Now those are the early knives. Those are some I've collected. I got a few more I'd like to show you. These are some more of the interesting knives. These are a little bit better quality than the others. And most of these are actually advertising knives. All of these knives up here, this row of knives, came from the Double Cola Company in Chattanooga, Tennessee, another soft drink manufacturer that gave away a lot of knives. This knife came from Camillus. This is a Camillus out of New York. That's an excellent knife. Good knife. Worked out well. I think they had some others too that this knife is, it had double color on it right there. You can hardly see it. But this is a Utica. This is a Utica, New York knife. Nice knife, nice knife. Some more of these. Beer companies were big. You see this knife around very often. This is the Utica club knife, and they must have given away a gazillion of these, because I've got 3 of them in various conditions. Here's another one that you can tell the difference in the condition, and got another one that's even worse than these. Some of the other advertising knives, which are kind of nice. Probably the most expensive knife, and the one that's the most valuable knife I've got, is this knife right here. This knife, it even has still the etching still on the blade. Valley Forge, I don't know whether you can read it or not. Valley Forge, which was a knife company in Newark, New Jersey. This knife is almost in mint condition, and it's got what's called a waterfall handle on it. And when I bought it, you're supposed to be able to move it back and forth like this, and it ripples the water. And when I bought this knife from a guy at a flea market somewhere, a gun show, I think I bought this one, he says you can do this, and this one's so good you can almost get wet just playing with it. I've never had that sensation before, but that's a nice knife. It's from an odd manufacturer in Newark, New Jersey, and it's almost in mint condition. We got a lot of other knives that are interesting to talk about, and everything else. Here's a knife that, I'd like to show you this one. I got this out of San Antonio at a junk shop one time. I've never seen one of these this small before, and that is the Masonic symbol on there, so I think somebody had these made up. It's a nice knife. I'm not sure how practical it is. It's never been used. Never been sharpened, never been anything else. Probably put on your keychain, would be nice. I think it's a nice knife. Now, we've got different things going, and that's how that came about. I like the way the knives operate. I like the way they look. That's why I collect them. Anything you want to know about it, drop me a note. Now, we do have some fun here in the knife business. I've got a couple of other knives over here I'd like to show you that I've collected through the years. This is kind of a unique knife right here. This is another lady leg knife, but it's a little big. It's got a strap on the other side here where you can put it on your belt or whatever it is and hold it there. But the good thing about this one is it's a quick opener. I think it's right nice. It's a nice knife too. Feels good in your hand. But it's a nice knife, and it's got that quick opener. I like that a lot. Anyway, got that one. If you want to go to the other extreme, I found this one not long ago. Now, who would make a knife like that? It's totally useless. It has no purpose. You couldn't use that. But it's perfectly made. I mean, it's really well made. Anyway, from the sublime to the ridiculous. But don't stop there, folks. We got one more for you. How about that one right there? Now that is a lady's leg knife. That will do anything you want it to do. It says it's made from Ocoee River. Ocoee River, the only one I know is in Tennessee, outside of Cleveland, Tennessee. And I've never seen another one like it. I'm not sure whether this is a store display or you could actually have bought that knife. It will not open a bottle because it's too big. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I like the leg knife. I think that's how it all started. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.